It took actually Bitcoin getting up to about 35 and stabilizing for us to really start to see the excitement in the altcoin market, which is just absolutely boomed. And if you kind of just look at that level, you can see that 42 is sort of the top and bottom of almost every support and resistance that you had throughout that entire sort of bull market transition to bear market. And now we just broke right through it. Right. So, I mean, I think you can look at Bitcoin, every time we have one of these top to bottom cycles, it almost always hits the 61.8% retracement, or you can call it the 61.8 to 65% area, the golden pocket. That is right here around 48 up to 50.
Cryptocurrency analyst Scott Melker, known for hosting the Wolf of All Streets podcast and authoring the Wolf Den newsletter, has recently delved into the current state of the crypto market. Bitcoin has had one hell of a week, month, and year, considering that Bitcoin began in 2023 at around $16,600. This puts Bitcoin's gains in 2023 at $28,000 or 170%. Today's, December 9th, high matches up with a 38.2% Fibonacci retracement from the 2020 March lows to the record high. During the discussion, Scott pointed out Bitcoin's historical cycles, noting its tendency to touch the 61.8% retracement or the golden pocket around 48,000 to 50,000 before a notable downward trend. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon reiterates his long-standing opposition to cryptocurrencies, stating in a Senate hearing that if he were the government, he would close it, crypto, down. However, despite being deeply opposed to the digital asset sector, JP Morgan recently launched its crypto token, JP Morgan Coin. According to Scott, this discrepancy suggests a desire to control and institutionalize crypto away from public blockchains like Bitcoin, which many are optimistic about. With no spot Bitcoin exchange-traded fund approvals just yet, and given the halving event is still out 5 to 6 months, the market is riding on FOMO. ETF research analysts are expecting any potential approval orders to come between January 8th and January 10th next year, but as Bitcoin's price surges, rising above $40,000 for the first time since April 2022, retail investors who are looking to hold for the first time are in a tough spot: buy now or wait a month to see if they will get access to a spot ETF. Scott highlighted caution regarding the potential rejection of a Bitcoin spot ETF, acknowledging the anticipation for its approval. Let's turn to the video.
Very long term.
To delve more into Scott's crypto analysis, let's begin by remembering to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon for the latest updates.
We had this 38,000 area of resistance. You can bring up my screen. 38,000 area of resistance, 31,000. Then you had this zone kind of around 38. And then you had this obvious level at 42. If people remember why 42 was so important, when we went from the previous all-time high 20 and finally broke that, we shot up to 42 in just a matter of weeks on Tesla buying Bitcoin. You can see here that was the top. And if you kind of just look at that level, you can see that 42 is sort of the top and bottom of almost every support and resistance that you had throughout that entire sort of bull market transition to bear market. And now we just broke right through it. Right. So, I mean, I think you can look at Bitcoin, every time we have one of these top to bottom cycles, it almost always hits the 61.8% retracement, or you can call it the 61.8 to 65% area, the golden pocket. That is right here around 48 up to 50. If you look at it, if you go back through every single cycle, top to bottom, at some point in the cycle, by the way, before it goes way back down, it generally tends to hit that sort of golden pocket right here. So I could see this pushing up to 48.50. But man, we were already way over where I thought we'd be going at this point, to be quite honest. So it's hard for me to really, get very excited about much higher targets in the short term. I still think we have the existential risk of a Bitcoin spot ETF rejection. I know that it's so priced in that it's going to happen, and all signals do look that way. But just my contrarian mind has to prepare me for the chance that that doesn't go our way, even if it's only, in March or April instead of January. So I'm just watching to see at this point what's going to happen with the ETF. I do think it will be approved. I think we'll go way up at that point. But then I think at some point we're going to need some retracement, man. I want to see resistance retested as support, and we haven't been seeing it because it eventually does get retested as support. Jamie Dimon was playing to his audience, and his audience was one person, Elizabeth Warren, who is the most critical crypto person there is on the planet and the most powerful senator in terms of banking and finance. He'll say literally whatever he has to say, regardless of whether it's what he believes or not. But you can watch what they do and not what they say. First of all, if we're talking about it being for drug traffickers and criminals and terrorists, well, Go look through the $39 billion in fines, 270 something fines that JP Morgan has paid over the years, including $280 million recently to the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, a few billion for all the money laundering that was happening there since the 1980s. These are the banks that are literally used for the crimes that he's committing others of. It's like, look over there so you don't see me doing it. But the flip side of that is that JP Morgan is massively, massively, massively invested in crypto. The thing is, they're not invested in the public side investable assets. So it's actually to their benefit to kind of crush the crypto industry as it is so that they can centralize it and institutionalize it and bring it to private blockchains, right? He can say whatever he wants. JP Morgan Onyx, their own platform, is tokenizing BlackRock money market funds, sending them to Barclays, doing $2 billion a day in transactions. So they're actively using this. They know that this is the future. But to be very clear, they want it to be a controlled future and not one that happens on Bitcoin or any public blockchain that we are all bullish on.
Scott Melker suggests that Bitcoin has acted as a trailblazer for other cryptocurrencies, leading to an interconnected relationship likened to a chicken and egg situation. While Bitcoin seems to be resting and flirting around the $44,000 level, altcoins have been raging in with the rally even further extended to some of the small-cap altcoins. Over the last 7 days, the altcoin space has added $100 billion to the broader crypto market. Scott expressed optimism for altcoins as long as Bitcoin doesn't crash, suggesting potential gains even during Bitcoin's upward or sideways movements. In addition to cryptocurrencies, Scott mentioned his interest in crypto-adjacent stocks like Coinbase, expressing bullish sentiments about its long-term prospects. Now,
TLT,
let's explore the insights further in the video.
Bitcoin has led and altcoins have followed. It's just a chicken and egg where you start. But altcoins, obviously, the altcoin market was devastated through the entire bear market. And even as Bitcoin laddered up from 17 to 20 key levels, 20 to 25, 25 to 31, altcoins were still getting destroyed. It took actually Bitcoin getting up to about 35 and stabilizing for us to really start to see the excitement in the altcoin market, which has just absolutely boomed. But very select altcoins. It's not everything like it has been at certain alt seasons in the past that people talk about, right? This is Bitcoin dominance. I think it's a bit of a joke to actually chart it personally, but it does show you the relationship and where the liquidity is going. You saw we had this as Bitcoin went way up, all the way up to 45. You saw that altcoins versus Bitcoin, they still go up in dollar terms because Bitcoin's carrying them. Altcoins versus Bitcoin were getting smashed. Now we stabilize. And because we're stabilizing in what people view as a bull market, they see, okay, Bitcoin's boring now, back to altcoins. And then you see Bitcoin dominance drop. So I think actually as long as Bitcoin is generally trending up, when it goes sideways is when historically in cycles, and at the moment, it's not even anecdotal, what happens is the liquidity flows back to altcoins. People get excited. Then when Bitcoin starts to move, panic ensues from their altcoins. They sell their altcoins quickly to get back into Bitcoin, and the washing machine continues to tumble. That was a long way of saying as long as Bitcoin doesn't crash, I think there's a lot more gains to be made in altcoins as it pushes up or even just goes sideways. I'm also watching crypto adjacent sort of stocks. I love Coinbase still here. I'm looking to buy more on a bounce, hopefully down to about 116 if we get a bit of a retracement, if Bitcoin pulls back a bit. But I'm very bullish on Coinbase long term. I literally have bought all the way down. I'm finally in the black on Coinbase after all these years. So it took a little while.
Wow.
And to that end, I think if you believe in Bitcoin, looking at some of the miners that are a high beta obviously is really good. I had bought Iris Energy kind of down in here because of a conversation with Mike Alfred. It doesn't hurt that you're immediately up from like $3.55 to $6 in a matter of days. So that will keep me bullish. But I think if you are bullish on Bitcoin, you can take a look at miners and Iris Energy in particular. The reason that Mike sort of fed this to me was that when they were actually priced down in this area, the price of the stock, their total value was less than just the hard assets that they own their actual infrastructure. Like they own their own data centers, they own their own miners, they own everything, and literally were valued less than the value of if they just sold off their assets. So that's what kind of convinced me to jump into this, even outside of the core business and believing in Bitcoin. But this is one of the few miners I think is well positioned into the halving when things start to get ugly.
According to the Coinbase executive, while the U.S. is on a journey to inflating the money supply and increasing deficit spending, the people now have an alternative, crypto, posing as an antidote to inflation. As Bitcoin's price rises, first-time Bitcoin investors in the U.S. face a quandary. Should they buy now or wait a month to see if a spot Bitcoin ETF gets approved first? What is your stance? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you found this content informative, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for the latest updates. Thank you for being here with us.